It is May the 12th, 2015, and this is the audio podcast. It's show 151, Free Hertz Upgrade.
Hello, I'm Samuel Freeman, that's Scott Hewitt, and this is the audio podcast. And Adam Yant is still away. I think he'll be back next week. We were away last week, and yeah, the show notes are online at theaudiopodcast.co.uk/show/151.
Cool stuff.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a little bit of a slow week news-wise, but we have managed to gather some news. We've got some good plunder this week, though. I think some very good plunder this week. So we can we'll get there when we get there. But to start with, we'll go straight into the news. And Universal Audio have released a software update, version 8.1. And within there, you get there is a new emulation of the Neve 88 RS channel strip with the collection that they have there. Softube's developed Marshall Plexi Super Lead 1959 that I think we talked about a couple of weeks ago, actually. Well, Adam was here when we talked about it last, so it may have been a few more than a couple of weeks ago. And also a TubeTech CL1B compressor. And that's all part of the new 8.1 software release. So that's pretty...
It's got the that Marshall Plexi thing in there as well, which we...
Yeah.
Yep.
It's pretty cool.
Okay, yep. Maybe this would be dwelling on this story more than necessary, but last time we talked about plugins, we were talking about Marshall having released their own versions of things. Now, is that what this is, or is this the Universal Audio emulation of a Marshall? Is this a Marshall plugin, or is this a UA Marshall plugin? I'm confused.
It's a Softube Marshall plugin on UA.
Okay,
is what it is. But as a Softube one, wasn't the Softube one developed with Marshall?
Yes, but let's.
I guess it's Marshall.
I mean, they wouldn't have put the name on it otherwise. Perhaps I don't know.
Because normally they cryptically describe them as things which are quite clearly what they are cryptically described as, aren't they? So, yeah. Did that make sense? Yes,
it did. Yeah.
Indeed, so it did. We think it did.
Yep.
We're confident it did. It made sense.
It did make sense. It's just what doesn't make sense is the hangover. I remember talking about the Marshall plugins and was all saying, but why and what? And now this has come up in possibly the following show from that. I don't know.
Fantastic. Cool. There we go. So that's a plugin. Now, if you're not interested in streaming, we'll see you next week. There you go.
Yep, or skip to the plunder if you can.
I'll skip to the plunder. Yes, we'll skip to the plunder.
If this wasn't unedited, we'd be able to tell you what time stamp that was at, but actually, we don't.
I'll put a tag. I'll put a YouTube tag on it for them.
Amazing. That's commitment for you. That's post-production. That is. Okay.
So what we got is a whole load of first of all, it is the end of April, the beginning of the end of April, the beginning of May is filing season, so we get a lot of financial reports coming out. And obviously, for the last couple of years, one of the biggest kind of trends has been the streaming services. It's me here. It's been the streaming services. So we got a whole load of reports about streaming services. So first of all, though, the beginnings of could be an investigation. Apple are potentially in trouble over the way they've been handling Spotify.
In what way?
In what way? Oh, I was going to mute my iPad here while you took that one. I'm sorry. That's okay.
Sorry.
That's all right. I'm done. It's muted. In what way? Apparently, now it's very difficult to report these kind of stories because when you're reporting the beginnings of a investigation which may be unfounded, it's incredibly difficult to refer to it as accurately as you maybe hope. But allegedly, there is a discussion about the fact that perhaps Apple encouraged people to stop supplying Spotify licenses to play for their free music service, their free streaming service. I think that's an appropriate way of describing the situation.
So the link in our show notes goes to the Verve.com story from a couple of days ago, where it says, and so the way that they phrase it is, The Verge has learned that Apple has been pushing major music labels to force streaming services like Spotify to abandon their fee tiers, which is pretty much what you just said, but yeah, we've got that word fact in there.
Yes. So it is the, now if it's the case, then there is obviously a lot of, it's a bit antisocial perhaps. At the same point, if we consider our next story, well, one of our next stories just for fun here, Rhapsody, the streaming service who don't have a freemium service, lost 21 million last year. So
but they which is more than they lost the year before, which is more than they lost the year before, but they've been losing money,
the whole time.
The past 3 years.
Yeah. So it's so the kind of joined up story of the whole thing is to say that the Apple, I think, are kind of pushing the agenda which says that the freemium streaming services are cannibalizing and eating the whole industry, and they need to be ended as quickly as possible. Otherwise, people are never going to. Otherwise, the industry is going to just cease to be sustainable. And the kind of point, but then the interesting side is when you point at Rhapsody and discover that's a company who only have paid streaming services and are making a loss. It's a bit of a problem.
And as well as the chart describing the loss there is the revenue, and the revenue is pretty high, really, and is up. The revenue is up as well as the loss has been up or down. So I don't know. I don't get these things at all. In fact, on the theme of not getting how these things work, we'll come to example number 3 of streaming things, which was Grooveshark.com, which I don't know. I certainly, when the audio podcast first started all those years ago, we did talk about Spotify quite a lot at the time, and I was free user of that at first and a subscriber at first, and I dropped it for multiple reasons, and then gradually picked up the casual use of Grooveshark and as a free user, and didn't really know that much about it. Was always a bit confused as to how I had access to all this music for free with relatively unintrusive adverts. And apparently it's because they weren't licensing it. I don't know. It all seems they have now closed their doors. If you go to grooveshark.com now, you will find a message saying that it's completely shut down. And it says something about them having made mistakes. So they made mistakes, and they say, we failed to secure licenses from rights holders for a vast amount of music on the service. This was wrong. We apologize without reservation. Yet it was running for years.
Well, yes, it was running for years, and it was, I think, quite well regarded, wasn't it? They did a couple of crazy things, though, didn't they, Grooveshark? Like, one of the ones, the Grooveshark was the service by which you could upload. It was quite clever in terms of being very kind of web orientated, as I like that's how I describe it, because it was the service where you could upload your own music to it, and then they would recommend music you'd uploaded to people who you had, the kind of like the friend relationship on Grooveshark with as music they might like, and thus automatically supply your illegally copied music to other people. That was part of how the service worked. And then added to that, they also had staff members who it was reported were paid to upload CDs themselves to the service as well. So there was just a couple of people
you could sign up
there
as an artist to upload your own music. I didn't realize that. I'm so naive.
Yeah, I didn't realize that random people could just sign up. It's like
that they had nothing in place to stop you uploading someone else's commercially released music.
That's entirely insane. Paul McCartney just spent a lot of time in Minnesota and was just on holiday there uploading his own music. That's just how it was. It's funny, isn't it? And saying, well, it's funny. The follow-on, we didn't put it in the show notes because I figured there's only so much financial reporting you can put in, and these ones were from earlier. These ones were actually from late April, but the Spotify figures came out as well, and Spotify lost 181.5 million last year. Which is just
like, I don't know. It just shows how ridiculous the concept of money is. Like, you could lose. How can you lose that much money? How can you have that much money to start with to lose it? No one actually has that money.
Yeah.
It didn't fall out of their pocket, did it? It's not.
No.
It's not down the back of the sofa.
Yeah, it's just sat there. It just giant. The sofa is slightly on one end, like slightly massively level. So. I guess it's, but as an observation, or perhaps as a suggestion to it, I think the sustainability of the music industry has always been a problem, hasn't it? And I think the large labels have a tendency to survive doing very very business, very finance orientated things. So we have those, you know, we had the big consolidations of the kind of late 90s where, you know, there was a question about sustainability of the labels again. The small labels were in problems, and all the big labels just bought all the small labels, and then it was fine. Like, because, you know, you had that kind of thing happened. And at the same point, certainly in the UK, all of the kind of high street CD retailing has basically collapsed and gone. And while a lot of people kind of say, well, that's because everybody wants to buy stuff from iTunes and that's what wants to happen, you have to think that the industry did a really bad job of supporting the CD retailers, you know, to the you know, even now they still, you know, I mean, they're still, I don't think, really supporting those people in the way that you would want to if you wanted them to survive. And I think this is the same story, isn't it? It's where the streaming services are probably not sustainable. They're not profitable. They're not making any money. But if the labels, you get the impression that the labels would rather they go out of business paying licensing that they can't afford to pay than for them to continue in business supplying music. And you just want, and saying obviously it's their you know, it's the industry's product for them to sell at whatever price they want to. So that's kind of fair enough if I believe there was a really good coherent plan for how music was going to be supplied to other people. But, you know, I mean, like, I don't get the impression there's a master plan that they're, you know, behind this, that they're going to do something really awesome at the other, you know, at the other side. I just get the feeling that the plan is to, you know, continue to shut down services they don't like, and to continue to get YouTube to delete videos that people upload, and
well, I was going to say
just
about
keep going,
the
isn't it?
thing there, like a lot of streaming goes on through that. It seems to me, like observation, people seem to still be using YouTube as a go-to for listening to mixes and
yeah. I think it's quite. I'm saying that there could have been. We could have had a streaming special, really, couldn't we? But Tidal obviously went. Well, yeah, disappeared into a small splashing of water, as they say. So they were talking about a relaunch of Tidal, and part of the Apple story is because it is expected that there's going to be a relaunch of the Beats streaming services as well. You know. My suspicion is the Beats streaming service is going to become an Apple sell-in. It's just going to be part of, you know, I mean, it's like, oh, you have a, you know, you have an iPhone, therefore you get the Beats streaming service, and that will essentially be it. And, you know, I can imagine.
Do you think that streaming service will be high resolution? Are we allowed to segue from news into Plunder, or is that?
Yeah, why not? Of course we can do. You were feeling exhausted by that. Let's ponder. Let's let we indeed. So there we go. So is it going to be high resolution? Well, interesting. This is from the Pono story, isn't it? This
is, yeah. Beats got a brief mention in there.
Indeed, so yes.
As headphones, not as a streaming service.
Yes, they did, didn't they? Indeed. So we've headed into the Plunder here, but one of the Plunder items is last week on Triangulation, which is on the Twit network. Leo Laporte interviewed Neil Young. Neil Young in his capacity as the head of Pono Music, who make the who make the triangular Pono player, of which if Adam was here, he would wave one on the screen, but he's not here. So.
Yeah. So yep, this is okay. Let's keep it. Let's try and. I said the segue was because what we were talking about was kind of related, or could have been, but questions of quality is what comes to mind with Pono, and the mention of Beats in there was to the question of how do you listen. So, you know, where is it coming from? Are you streaming it, or are you buying it from iTunes and playing it from some device? And if so, what is it that you care about? Why are you doing it? Like, Neil Young would like for people to actually listen to music and for it not to be just a background noise that's there permanently, and for people to be able to hear it properly, apparently. He's been on that trip for years and years and years. I remember at least 10 years ago reading an article where he was talking about how much he didn't like the CD format, and only now that higher resolution digital stuff was available was he even slightly interested in digital reproduction of analog stuff. And now he's like out there shouting about it. He's gone from not wanting to be anywhere near digital to saying this is the way to do it. Yeah. But yeah, skipping to the end, doesn't it? Perhaps we do need Adam for this, but the headphone thing.
The headphone thing. That was not where I was expecting you to go there, Sam. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Where would you go with this then? I'm gonna leave it there.
So again, if we treat it as treating it as a news item, if we treated it as a news item momentarily, Pono is a Toblerone shaped music kind of audio player, which plays really high resolution, which is designed to play high resolution audio. So it will play up to 192 24-bit audio.
Yep.
That's it. That's what it is. I think myself, like other people, well, quite a few people have been fairly negative about it. Just in terms of principle, really, and saying I think the fundamental problems I have is I think it completely forgets the cool benefits of being digital, and that's why digital music has been so popular and successful, because it's things like, I think they were joking themselves, but you put a 64 gig micro SD card in it and you get 10 to 15 albums. That's the cool thing of your iPod was the fact you could take like every piece of music you'd ever listened to with you. And
but that's the thing is it quality or quantity that you're after? Why do you need 3 days of music in your pocket? For what reason would you, in what situation would you be planning to go out of the house with more than 5 albums? What are you going to be doing with it? In what situation are you going to be listening to these things?
Well, certainly, I would concede that point to you, certainly in that case. But he also made some suggestions where he talked about, so as you said, his concern was most people treat music as some sort of background thing that they're not really paying attention to, and he suggested that's because of a quality issue. But I'm not sure I would say that is a quality issue particularly. He was talking about people having emotional responses to music, and I think people have emotional responses to music regardless of the quality of it. It's whether they have a emotional connection to the piece of music that's in existence, already maybe.
I don't think he was saying that music's become wallpaper and background because of the quality. I think that what he's saying is that people haven't noticed the quality get worse because it's just background now, because no one's paying, because generally speaking, people are not paying much attention to it, and so they don't notice that the quality is rubbish and that you're only getting, I think the number he used was 5% of the master. So if the 192 version of a recording is 100%, then by the time you get down to an MP3, you've only got 55% of that information. So
that's true, and it is. I'm saying certainly we're not arguing around the validity of the higher resolution rates here either, because I was having this conversation with somebody and we were talking about what do you do with low quality masters, from say early digital recording systems or from poorly aligned tape machines. And I was trying to make the point to them that the higher the resolution sampling rate, then the more accurate representation of the master you get. So if the final recorded master was grotty, then one presumes the artist was happy with that, and therefore you want the highest quality version, you want the highest quality digitization of the grotty analog recording, because that's what they made. So there's no question in my mind about the fidelity of the higher sampling rates at all. I'm just not convinced that this is the direction that's going to save the music industry. I don't think, I don't see it as a question of higher quality, and partially because from it's a weird angle to take, this idea of, well, we're going to make a really high. I know the Pono player is designed to be used static as well as portable, which is part of the reason for its weird shape. This triangular shape is to kind of make it obvious that it's not really for purely portable use. But at the same point, people need to improve. We need listening environments to improve significantly and things like this, and that's just not the. But it's not the case. I have, as an illustration, I have a Samsung Windows box from a couple of years ago, which I run Linux on. No fear, everybody. And its digital to analog converter is just horrific, to the extent where if you want to listen to anything from it, you have to unplug it from the mains or put a DI box in the way. before you can plug it into any sort of hi-fi. It just like its head. That's how bad the audio out on it is, and it strikes me that that's like the fundamental problem. Far before we need to start looking into high resolution audio systems. I'm saying until
But that's exactly what the Pono offers. That's the triangular shape of it is that inside that box, you've not just got a mini operating system and some data storage and a flat screen display. You've got a high quality DAC and also a high quality headphone amp. So that and it has a line out as well. So if you did want to plug it into anything you plug it into, even if it's Beats headphones, you're putting into your listening environment, whether it's headphones or a room, something that is as high as it can be. So the idea that in the studio in professional studios, things are mastered to this high level, and that's the finished product. And then it goes through these stages of distribution and then reproduction, and then you hear it. If you squeeze that middle bit through, even through the CD layer or through an AAC or MP3, then you're doomed. It doesn't matter what you put on the end. You could have the nicest amplifier, nicest room, nicest speakers, but if you're just going to play an MP3 through it, then kind of what's the point? Or as you're saying, if you're going to play something through a dodgy DAC, then you're not going to get anywhere near what you're playing back. Even if you play a 96 kilohertz 24-bit file back through your little notebook thing there, there's no point. So I think that the Pono ideology is to have a physical device that is capable of delivering what's on offer, and then after that, it's up to you how far you want to take that, but at least you're starting with the correct thing.
I take your point.
I've seen lots of Neil Young interviews, and he usually annoys me, to be honest, even though I agree with a lot of what he says, and I've enjoyed much of his music in my life. This is the first interview I've actually enjoyed all the way through. I think maybe the people interviewing him are sometimes more antagonistic than this guy was, but in any case, it was good.
Well, indeed so. Well, I enjoyed the interview as well. I actually watched it live, but so I would certainly recommend it to you. You can get it for free. You can stream it or download it, and it's from twit.tv, and it was the Triangulation episode with Neil Young. So you can obviously get the link from the audiopodcast.co.uk/show/151, talking about things of. I don't know what the segue would be. The history of Fruity Loops Studio, or the history of Fruity Loops or FL Studio. There's an article online all about it from ImageLine. How cool is that?
FL Studio history, yeah. Sorry, the reason I laugh is that even on the first entry on here, the 1998 item there. Is that the first? Oh no, I'm on page 17. No. That's why. Sorry, the first entry.
December the 18th, 1997. That sounds like it could be a audio podcast quiz question for later on this year for Christmas. Was the first release of Fruity Loops. How cool was that?
Wow.
So that's pretty cool. You can go read it. There you go. If you're a Fruity Loops user, you might find this interesting. If you're into the history of DAWs, which I'm kind of quite into actually, then it is kind of cool as well. I definitely recommend it to you.
This is definitely newly published. I've done some things in the past couple of years looking at history of DAWs and comparing things. And although Fruity Loops is often mentioned and cited, this is a new resource that wasn't there before. So it would be interesting to put this side by side with other developments of those decades.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I liked it.
So 97, so we're in 15 now. So in 2 years' time, there'll be a round numbered anniversary of this thing. Do you think they'll do something special?
Who knows? Who knows?
They'll still be going. I mean, what is that? That's 2 years away. I mean, I think they'll be safe. Don't you think?
Yeah, I think so. They got it sorted out. Talking about things that may not be safe, though, of unique interest probably to our UK-based listeners, but if you're further afield, you may find it interesting as well. But there is as part of our ongoing, as part of the renewal of our Conservative government, the re-layout of GCSE and A-level qualifications. So these are qualifications for people to obtain at the age of 16 and the age of 18. That's a nice way of describing it, I think, isn't it? There we go. That kind of makes sense. The overarching Quality of Assessments Board, who also in there called Ofqual or whatever their name is, has declared that A-level music technology may no longer exist. Now, this was a decision they first made public at the end of March. Through omission, it should be said. So they didn't include it. They released a list of things that will be renewed, definitely, and this wasn't on the list. And as a consequence, there's a little bit of a kind of campaign running to ensure that A-level music technology does actually remain as a subject available for people to study from the age of 16 to the age of 18. What in the UK we'd refer to as FE education, which is further education. After the post the compulsory period of education, as they say. There you go. So if you're in that sector, you're probably aware of it. If not, then you might have been aware of it. I was aware of it kind of in a way that, I was like, that's a bit of a disaster, but hadn't been fully aware of it. But I was reflecting on it, having saw this link and read the story. I was really quite shocked by it, actually. It's just like, I'll be confrontational. I don't know if you've had a chance to read the story or not, Sam, but the way that I was thinking about it is that I think one of the cool advantages of music technology as a program of study, I've always argued, is the fact that it provides an incredibly fun and interesting and engaging way of dealing with topics which are generally not particularly interesting. As an example, it's much more interesting learning about wave interference patterns using additive synths than it is using a bucket of water and dropping pebbles in it. That would be one. And I've always argued that, even at the university level, and I know, Sam, that you teach at this level as well, but we on the back of music technology courses, there's a lot of electrical engineering done. There's a lot of computer programming done, as well as the actual kind of music technology stuff as well. So it seemed weird to me that, A-level music is perfectly safe, but for some reason A-level music technology wouldn't be. Yet A-level music technology actually provides far more useful transferable skills to people. As in, if you get somebody who passes A-level music, somebody who passes A-level music technology, or somebody who passes a music technology degree, you're generally getting somebody who will have a broad understanding of electrical engineering principles, a broad understanding of computing principles, and the ability to, do things on time and as instructed. That's like it seems to be a fairly good skill set, and it still does. I was just surprised that apparently it's not considered that way. I don't know. What's your thoughts, Sam? Or were you just like, you were like, yeah, whatever, man. I'm saying it's just teenagers making beats. I'm saying they're not learning anything, Scott. Is that what you're saying?
That is not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying that if you want to do music technology, then why do A-levels, isn't it? There are. I don't know. I haven't been paying attention to the FE thing for a while. A-levels is just kind of you don't have to be at school anymore, but you haven't really been equipped to not be in school. So we'll give you a couple more years of schooling, sort of in between sort of stage. Whereas there are options at that age, post 16, in this country, where you can go to do more vocational type things. So if you wanted to study music technology so A-levels, people generally do, was it 2 or 3, 4 subjects simultaneously? Is that right?
Something like that, yeah.
It's more than one. It's not that they were full-time studying. If you're doing A-level music technology, you're also doing A-level something else.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And yeah, to get those kind of transferable skills and knowledge that you're kind of referring to there, which are accessible through studying music technology, why not just do full-time music technology as a national diploma or something like that? Whatever they're called these days, NVQs or something, is it? I don't know. But, there are options for doing that kind of thing. Yeah.
That's very true, Sam. I think, perhaps so. I think the attitude I was taking was that if we work on the basis that everybody's encouraged to acquire qualifications, and if we say let's play that game, then it seems the weird one not to offer when you're encouraging people to play that game. By extension, at the same point, I would also concede that there are certainly more vocational methods of probably acquiring that skill set alongside CV lines, which are probably more valuable in the long term. But as they say. And on that ponderance and such like that. Well, actually, you know what would be really cool, because I'm just going to segue from it here. Something that I was saying would be really cool is that obviously, and most of our listeners would know, but the three of us, I include Adam, who's obviously absent today, are obviously, while not entirely educationally focused, are all HE people to a degree. Adam less so, but both Sam and I obviously teach in universities at the moment, so we're certainly HE focused in that sense. So it'd be really cool actually if we've got a listener from the FE sector who would like to come on the show. If you'd want to, send us an email, show@theaudiopodcast.co.uk, and we would be really keen to, enlighten us, tell us why. Well, I don't think we're not supporting, but be interesting to get their kind of cold face opinion on that matter, wouldn't it? Okay. So that's cool. There you go.
That would be good. Yeah.
If you want to contact us in other ways, you can also get us on Twitter @the Audio Podcast as well. We're on Google+, we're on Facebook. You can subscribe to us on iTunes, Gpodder, Stitcher, and YouTube if you want to, and get the show as soon as it turns up. And we also now have we have a mailing list as well. Now, I have to be honest that the thing that will make the mailing list work properly doesn't exist yet. So you can sign up to our mailing list and you will receive no email, actually, is the consequences of that immediate action. But in the near future, you will receive what you will receive actually is a copy of notes to accompany your offline listening of the audio podcast. So it will actually be a really cool little kind of thing. But, I've got third year projects to mark right now, so it's not been done.
Yep. Yes, it is. Yeah, definitely working in the education system. This is a busy time of year.
Indeed, so it is. All right, then. Well, I've been Scott here. This has been the Audio Podcast, show 151, Free Hertz. Upgrade.
I'm Samuel Freeman, and it seems like we'll be back next week.
With Adam, perhaps. Awesome.
That'd be good.
Cool. We'll see you guys later. Have a good week. Bye.